more kind of wife life relationship chat this week, because I basically went to a wedding a couple of weeks ago, and one of my beautiful friends was basically asking me about the differences between relationship, what my relationship was like with Kesh before we got married and kind of what it was like after, and the biggest changes and things like that. And then we got into this long-winded conversation, which I was like, this is an absolutely fascinating conversation, and I wish that somebody who was married kind of had it with me. This is basically my advice and my thoughts on when you're transitioning between that casual relationship to the serious side, or marriage or engagement or whatever, like what you need to talk about, because this is so important and I feel like people just don't talk about it, and I don't understand why, because you need to make sure you're on the same wavelength, and that's probably the hardest thing. Like, I feel like Kesh and I are so lucky. We met when we were 17, we were totally different people then, and now we're totally different people, and we've managed somehow, by the grace of God, to change together. And even then, we're still fighting about so many different things. He's like, I don't want to do this, and I'm like, I don't want to do this, and he's like, I want to buy a motorbike, and I'm like, no, I don't want you to die. It's like, oh, he actually bought one without telling me. That was a fight. See, and if he just talked to me about it, we wouldn't have thought about it. We probably would have, but you know, fundamental conversation that couples should be having when they're taking the step from a relationship to a serious relationship or a marriage is, what are your goals? What your achievement? What do you want from life? You know, and there's so many things like culture, kids, finances, all the things that you could talk about. The main thing is, I want to do this. I want to achieve this in life, and I want to achieve this in life. Will that happen together? For example, if I want to be an MD at my firm, are you going to be happy with that? Or do you want me to stay at home with the kids? Vice versa. I want to stay at home with the kids. Are you going to be able to provide for me? These are conversations that you should be having. That's just one type of conversation. Like, do you want to have kids or not? I can't even believe there's so many couples that don't talk about whether they want to have kids or not. That's like madness to me. Like, that's like the fundamentals. Both Kesh and I know we want to have kids. We argue about when we're going to have kids all the time. He wants to have kids sooner. I want to have kids later. Like, all these conversations you've got to have, because the moment shit hits the fan, like, you get serious with someone and the dynamics of a relationship change, like you're forced into an environment that you may not want to be in. In a South Asian relationship, you're not just married to that person, you're married to their family. And vice versa. He's not just married to me, he's married to my whole family as well. So the whole dynamic of your relationship tends to change. And if you're not having these conversations, you've got all of those problems and then everything on top. And that is just gonna be a recipe for absolute disaster, and your relationship is just not gonna work. So things like kids, things like culture, things like religion, you know, if you're of two religions, two backgrounds, you have to have these conversations. Like, what do you want the future to look like? These things are so important to have this be discussed with one another. And I also just think, you know, it's little things like, if you're a spender versus if you're with a saver, that relationship ain't gonna work. I'm telling you that right now. And I just think that these things become really, really apparent, like when you move in with each other. You know, in South Asian relationships, you don't necessarily move in with each other, or you're getting engaged and you're making it really official. And getting engaged in our culture is a huge thing. I don't know many people who break up after engagement. You do see it there and there, but it's like a big deal. And same like with marriage, like you don't see a huge amount of divorces. So you've got to be taking this shit seriously, real seriously. And I just think the more you communicate, like before you get married, how many kids do you want? I want 1. No, I want 5. When you're ready to take the next step, you basically need to talk about scenarios like, what would you do if this happened? What would you do if this happened? Rish and I a lot of the time talk about what would happen if something happened to my in-laws or something happened to my parents, and he's super prioritizes, you know, looking after them, and whether that be his parents or my parents. And that's something that I really, really respect in him. And we talk about scenarios all the time, like, you know, what if we move to another country, or what if I got a job somewhere, what if he got a job somewhere, or how would we make money if something really bad were to happen. These are the kind of scenarios that you need to constantly talk about day in, day out. Like, I just think over communication when you're taking a really big step is so key. I just think that, you know, in a lot of the aspects of my life, I got lucky. Me and Kesh got very lucky that we grew in the same way. And I just think that not everybody will be that lucky. And I think that we are also paying for some of the conversations that we as a couple didn't have in our marriage now. And we're having to work through them on a day-to-day basis. And this kind of video is just really there to kind of put that spark in someone's mind, like whether it be a guy or a girl, and just be like, what conversations do I need to have with my significant other half? Because, you know, a wedding is great and it's so much fun, but a marriage is a totally different ball game, and it's super, super hard. Like, I don't care what anyone said, it's damn hard. In a lot of like British relationships, like white British relationships, you know, they'll split things. They'll do things with one family for one Christmas and another family for another Christmas. In our situation, everyone just gets together, like all the family, and that can be really overwhelming for people. So those are the kind of things that, you know, you need to be thinking about. Kids, culture, religion, goals, financial goals. Like, I just want to say this is because there's like little things that Kesh and I didn't talk about. And those little things have turned into big things now that we've got married. And we work through them because I just think that we try to communicate as effectively as possible. But don't get me wrong, like, we blow up. Like, we have a big disagreement and I'm like blowing up, he's blowing up, and we're like, Drah! Like it's crazy, you know? And we won't talk to each other for a little while. And it takes time. Like, we calm down and then we'll have like a civilized conversation. But that damage has already been done. Like, you've said something that you didn't want to say. Like, you've upset that person in a way that you shouldn't have upset them. And all the maturity goes out the window. Like, you forget everything that you've learned and how to be civilized and all that sort of thing. I just think, like, you know, when you do good things, it's great. But when you do bad things, they damage. They damage and they leave a lasting effect. The whole point of relationship, or taking it to the next level, moving in, getting married, getting engaged, whatever it is super, super serious. And, you know, everybody does it with the right intentions, but go in on the same page. And if you go in on the same page, all of the external things that you'll deal with will not be as big of a battle as everything else, because you have sorted it all out. Like, you've thought about it. Because life will throw you curveballs, and I have seen those curveballs come flying in the last year and a half, and I know they will come flying for the rest of our lives. And it's just my responsibility and Kesh's responsibility as husband and wife to keep on talking about this, like constantly talking about it. Guys, super, super excited to share this video with you, and I really want to get to know your thoughts, because these are the kind of topics that I'm super passionate about, and I want to know if you're passionate about them too. Like, I want to know what other people went through and what other people are going through. Like, do you have any regrets that you didn't talk about this and you didn't talk about that? I know that, you know, things still come up with Kesh and I, and we've been together over 9 years, and I say this in every single video that I film. So if you do watch them all, you'll probably be like, yeah, we know, mate. I know you know. But I'm just trying to say to anyone who's watching this, you can be in a relationship for such a long time, but if you haven't had those critical conversations, you could be in trouble. Make sure you please drop me a comment. I really want to know your feedback, but I also want to know your experiences too, so that's why I asked you to do that. Click a like and also click subscribe, because that means the most to me, and I will see you all soon. Comment my video. Comment my video. Comment. No, because I want to feature you. You look so pretty. We're talking about relationships.
I'm amazing on it.
Oh my.
Okay. Bye. My bedtime.
What's wrong? Are you tired?
Bedtime now. Oh.
What?
Look ugly.
No, you don't.
Bye, fans. Tell her to put me back in a vlog. She don't listen.